First of all, it's not possible to be focused on opposing vibrations at the same time. So just realize that your vibrational reality is like a holding pattern, because your inner being is focused there. So when you focus where your inner being is, you're calibrated. So your desire is where your inner being is calibrated. But what you feel is your calibration indicator. If you feel discouraged, that's your indicator that you're calibrating away from what you want. If you feel hopeful, then you're calibrating more in the direction of what you want. If you're feeling really happy, then you're really calibrating in the direction of what you want. Most people are kind of all over the place, happy, discouraged, and so you don't have a real handle on calibration. Usually what's happening is you're letting current circumstances calibrate you. If you're getting something nice from someone that you want, then you calibrate to that. Or if you're not getting what you want, then you calibrate to that. But you want to get control of your calibration. You don't want the circumstances to be what you're calibrating to. You want to calibrate to your true desire. You want to calibrate to what's already created in your vibrational reality. You want to calibrate to the knowing and the perspective, the perception, the opinion that your inner being has about the subject. So your feeling tells you how you're calibrated. And if it's not a good feeling, then you want to gently try to think your way into a different feeling. If it appears that it isn't good, and then you speak it and it feels good, then it is good. In other words, trust your feeling, and don't pay any attention to what anybody else thinks about it. Haven't you ever had someone, you're both saying the same thing and you mean different things even though you're saying the same thing? The word God, the word money, even the word relationship. People are all over the place in what they feel when they say such a thing. Sometimes you think you're talking about money and you think money is a positive thing, but when you feel terrible every time you talk about money, that means you're calibrated to the absence of money rather than to the abundance and presence of money. So how you feel matters. It's primary. It's dominant. How you feel really, really matters. It's the central tool for productive calibration. It's the essential tool to deliberate creation. There's two ways to approach it. Get out ahead of it. If you've meditated and tuned into who you really are, then those thoughts will usually follow that positive thread. But if you haven't, and you're waiting to walk into a situation and then you're having a knee-jerk response to the situation, then you don't have any control over your vibration or over your point of attraction or over your outcomes. Is it okay for the skier who has momentum as he's tumbling down the slope? Is it all right for him to keep doing that? Well, Abraham, how can you ask that? He has no choice. He can't do other than continue to go with the flow of his momentum. So when you say, is it okay? It's okay for you to have a negative thought. It's okay for you to create things you don't want. In fact, in most cases, not only is it okay, you can't do anything about it this red hot minute. Other than, in the midst of it, no, I don't want this. Which launches an equivalent calibrated of what you do want, which your inner being then climbs all over and becomes one with. So every time something feels like it really went bad, it also really went good. In other words, it's the beginning of the evolution. It's step one, you ask. Step two is source became one with it. Step three is now your work. You've got to calibrate to what you want, which means you have to let go of the beliefs that you held that are in opposition to what you want. People say, I want a lot of money, but I don't believe I can get it. Or they say, I want a lot of money and I'm willing to work hard for it, but I don't want to work hard for it. And so, but if you say, I know that what I want will come to me and that the universe will find a way to deliver it to me, if I can put at bay or at rest those resistant thoughts that are keeping it from getting into me. Follow? So here's a really good example. So I'm giving love because I'm a lover. It's just how I like best to feel. But I can't control the receptive mode of anybody else. So I'm offering something that's not being received right now. So now you have a choice. You can feel resentful, which means you calibrated to them, or you can just find a way to stay in your love anyway. You love because you're a lover, not because you're trying to control somebody else's experience. And it's so delicious when you're loving someone who is open to your love. That's just the best of all of it. But that's what makes you, as humans, try to calibrate to that. You put emphasis on what they're doing in the equation, which you can't control, instead of emphasis on what you're doing in the equation, which you can control. So if you were writing this or calibrating it, you might want to say things like, I love because I'm a lover, not because that person's letting it in right now. In fact, you know what? Hear this. You are being, in this example, exactly like what you call God is, or what source is, or what inner being is, because source loves whether you let it in or not. So many people don't feel loved, but it's not because they are not being loved. It's because they're not letting it in. And source doesn't say, well, they're not letting it in, let's give this one up. Century after century, we love, they don't let it in, we love, they complain, we love. It's not like that. That pure positive energy continues to be pure positive energy. And you must, if you want to feel good, calibrate to it. So you cannot let your offering of love, your exuding of love, be conditional on someone's receiving it. You're not loving them for an ulterior motive. You're loving them because you love. And it's up to them to let it in or not. But if they don't let it in, that's not any of your business. It's their business. It's not any of your business. And what do you think the best chance of them coming to let your love in is? For you to say, okay, never mind. Or, okay, well, I'm not going to offer it to you because you don't let it in. Or is the best opportunity for them to let it in be for you to consistently offer it? And eventually, as you know, you'll catch them in a weak moment when their resistance is down. And they'll let it in and they'll like it. So the law of attraction says the only way you can let love in is to be calibrated to love. So why does letting it in feel good? Is it because of the love you're letting in, or is it because of the calibration to love that you already are? Ooh. So now you can let everybody else off the hook. It's so much misunderstanding. I need you to do this and this and this and this and this, which is just like saying, stop falling down the hill. Nobody can do that. You got to give everybody a break. Give everybody a break. Give them the benefit of the doubt, and you just calibrate to who you really are. And after a while, you'll just notice that in that continuing calibration, things are just good and gooder and gooder and gooder and gooder for you. Others notice that. And some of them will be jealous and they'll attack you. Why does all the good stuff come to you? Why are they getting my stuff? Why are they getting my stuff? Well, the answer is nobody can get your stuff. The things that I desire, that I have the least resistance to, are the things that happen first. The things that I desire, that I have the most resistance to, are more stubborn. And isn't it logical that the things you want the most, you've been thinking about the longest from the screwiest point of view? Isn't it logical that the things you want the most potentially could have the most resistance attached to them? So the things I want the most, I have the most cleaning up to do about. And here's the other big thing. The thing I want the most, I can't just forget about it because I want it. If I could just forget about it, then I'd get out of the way of it and it could come. But because I want it so much, I'm obsessed with it. So I think about it all the time from a point of belief system that's calibrated in a wonky way. And now I got some work to do, yeah? Perfectly logical, isn't it? So this thing I know I want it the most because I feel the most around it. If you sort of want it, it sort of bothers you if you don't have it. If you really want it, it really bothers you if you don't have it. Those are all those calibration clues, yeah? All right, so how did I get here? How did I get here? How did I not see this coming? How did I let it get so far before I did something about it? So that's the general thread of that thought. So now begin calibrating. Well, I didn't know about calibration then. And I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm sort of calibrating to circumstances. And it's logical that you get what you think about. So I can see how it was a path that just got worse and worse. It's logical to me that the better it gets, the better it gets. And the worse it gets, the worse it gets. So this is just evidence that it's not really a good idea to let conditions be my point of calibration. So doesn't that just feel better? No big deal, because I can start from where I am at any time. It doesn't matter if it was 1 day or 6 months before I begin cleaning it up. This is really important. It sounds so simple, but there is a vibrational science or physics behind it. And these things are always true. At your source, you are pure positive energy. You cannot remain at your source because you came intending to explore, to evaluate, and to decide, to find new things that you desire. And so you knew that there would be a brief time when your exploration of life would show you what you don't want. And you also knew, as you made the decision to come into this time and space, that when you defined or calibrated to a problem, you would simultaneously be calibrating to a solution. And you knew that you would then have the choice of which direction you would give your attention to. You knew that your emotional guidance system would help you to know. But somewhere along your physical trail, others have been so sure in their determination that you are unworthy and that you are bad, and they usually think that they are too, that they've given you a whole list of things to do and have not encouraged you to pay any attention to how you feel. This next sentence we're going to give you is going to be maybe the most meaningful thing you've ever heard on your new path of deciding that you're going to be a calibrator. You became a manipulator of circumstances and words, rather than a calibrator of vibration and energy. And you got good at it because you are a harmonizer and you do want harmony. And if you're not factoring in the bigness of who you really are, if you're not factoring in the wholeness of who you really are, if you're not knowing what your emotional guidance system is about, if you don't know that negative emotion means you're not under the influence of this calibration, you're under the influence of some other. And what happens is, you're so wonderful. You are creators who do turn thoughts to things. And you are in love with the things that you've turned the thoughts to. And because you can see and hear and smell and taste and touch, that part of your world seems like the dominant part of your world. It seems like the way to go. It seems like saying things and doing things and getting other people to do things, which is what we are calling the manipulation of physical stuff, seems like the way to get things the way you want them to be and to live happily ever after. And certainly we don't disagree that someone who's paying attention and doing things on purpose is better off than someone who isn't. We're just saying there is so much better way of going about this. That if you will get to the heart of who you are and you will calibrate to your power and your clarity and your strength and your love, then you will have that energy that creates worlds flowing through you, and the cooperative components that you attract, that you gather to you, will be those that are in vibrational harmony with who you really are and what you really want.